it is very interesting that you mentioned ASEAN. Our government has this 新南向政策 new southbound policy in out of the 10 countries in Southeast Asia. Singapore is neutral. And Philippines is pro United States, pro American, but the other 8 are pro China. So the only country that Taiwan now feels comfortable doing business with in Southeast Asia is Philippines. So I heard from my contacts say, "Oh, very bullish on Philippines," but then all the other countries, simply because they are doing business or slightly toward China, our government feel hesitated to do business with them. So I just want to explain.
But I have to qualify that. The other 8 are not pro-China. In fact, most of the 10 ASEAN countries want to be good friends with China and good friends with the United States.
Neutral.
And so far, we have succeeded. And by the way, there are enormous reservoirs of goodwill towards the United States in Southeast Asia, by the way. Southeast Asia is not anti-American. Southeast Asia is very friendly. In fact, when American congressmen and senators come to visit Southeast Asia, they get a very warm welcome. Now, in the case of the Philippines, you must also remember that when they had President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, she was pro-China. When they had President Aquino, pro-US. They had President Duterte, pro-China. President Marcos, pro-US. So, when you have
every 4 years.
When you have a country that swings like that, it can create some confusion. So I actually tell my Filipino friends that in geopolitics, you must work out a consistent bipartisan policy. And the wisest people in Southeast Asia, wisest country is Vietnam. Because in Vietnam, they have a saying that to become a leader of Vietnam, you must be able to stand up to China and you must be able to get along with China. If you cannot do both, you cannot be a leader of Vietnam. And that's what the countries in Southeast Asia also are trying to do. So, in diplomacy, a lot can be achieved if you're careful, subtle, and sophisticated in your approach and not black and white in doing your things.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification and the great insight. I want to ask you the last question before I open to the floor. We talk about, you also talk about the decline of the West, the rise of Asia, and the decline of America, United States, and the rise of China. We can see in so many cases, technology. Apple just launched iPhone 16, and Huawei launched a new folded three-way. The cell phone that is unparalleled, and then the BYD that now is already way ahead Tesla, and then and also if you look at the space, the U.S. is in trouble. 2 of their astronauts are stuck in the space, and the cannot 8 days mission become 8 months nightmare, and then but these are rising China, the inevitable trend. How will U.S. counter that? And Taiwan is in particular in a sensitive position because the only thing China is maybe not so good is chips, semiconductor. Taiwan is very strong. The U.S. also trying to control that. So what I'm seeing is the first question. This Asia rise seems inevitable, and we are very tricky in the extremely sensitive part. Taiwan is a very sensitive period, and Taiwan with the great technology of semiconductor chips also caught in between. What's your advice to Taiwan?
Well, I must emphasize that when I talk about the decline of the West, it's a relative decline, not absolute decline. I mean, the Western countries will still remain wealthy countries. They're not going to go into poverty. But their relative share of the global GNP is shrinking. And also when I talk about Asia, it's not just about China. You have 1.4 billion people in China. You have 1.4 billion people in India. And India is going to do very well. The Indian economy is already the 5th largest economy. It will be the 3rd largest economy by 2030. And then you have ASEAN with 700 million people. So it is a combination of what I call the new CIA. China, India, ASEAN.
Wow, CIA.
CIA. The new CIA that is happening. And so on your question of technology, it's very clear that TSMC must retain the trust and confidence of the US government. Very important. Because, if you lose it, then people in Washington, D.C. may advocate crazy options. You had the former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm sure you know what he said. He said what the United States should do if in case China invades Taiwan, the United States should bomb TSMC, destroy it completely so that China gets nothing. Now that's a very irresponsible statement by an American leader. But it shows you, therefore, how you got to be geopolitically sophisticated. And in the case of TSMC, because the United States regards it as so important, you have to retain the trust and confidence of the United States. But on the other side, I've said this in an article which I published with the former president of Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Tony Chan. All the efforts to stop China's technological development cannot succeed. Because China has shown time and again that when you try and stop China, China overcomes it. They try to stop China from having nuclear weapons. China developed its own nuclear weapons. The United States refused to cooperate with China in outer space. China set up its own international space station. And as you can see, right now Chinese astronauts can travel out and back more easily than American astronauts can, which is quite a remarkable change. So in this game, therefore, what we need to do is very gradually and slowly persuade American policymakers that all their efforts to try and stop China are not going to work. Instead, what we should all be doing is learning to work with a new China that is strong and powerful. And the good news is that at this stage, the Chinese leaders are happy to work with the rest of the world to create a rules-based multilateral order that will work in the interest of all powers, including the United States, including China, including Southeast Asia, and everyone else. So we still have the opportunity to have a better world if we press the pause button on the US-China geopolitical contest.
Thank you so much for the good advice.
姐妹们总烦恼脸上细纹、干燥与暗沉，现在起跟我一起放心交给 KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹系列。KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹系列，它添加5种 EGF， 专门防止肌肤老化，强化皮肤修复，增加肌肤弹性水嫩，轻松抚平皱纹，换回青春自信。KS Royal Face 皇家颜值逆时奇迹，护肤露、全效精华、精华霜，即刻启动冻龄密码。